Hi, this is romance novelist Maureen Driscoll with 4 tips of how not to get scammed in self publishing, as well as the big bonus tip of how not to get scammed in self publishing. So, I guess it's 5 tips. Here are 5 tips to help you avoid being scammed in publishing. Tip number 1 is to safeguard your financial information. Now, as luck would have it, tip number 1 works everywhere. You can use it all over the internet. You can even use it in real life. Safeguard your financial information because a lot of people want to separate you from your money. Do not make it easy for them. For instance, like let's say you get an email from somebody saying, "Hey, we want to publish your next book. And to show you just how serious we are, we want to send you a gigantic check. And all you need to do is send us your financial information." Do not do that. Also, like let's say you get an email from somebody saying, "Hey, we want to publish your next book, but we're a really small publisher, and so we need your help with the expenses, like designing a cover or for editing or whatever else it is that they're asking for money for." Don't do that because the whole point of having a publisher is that they pay for that crap. You don't pay for that crap, they pay for that crap. They should cover all of the upfront expenses. Now, eventually, you are going to give them money. That is a legitimate part of the deal, but it is going to be in the form of a cut of your royalties. So the book is already sold, and you get the money, and then you have to give a portion of them to the publisher. And that portion will be, and this is important, uh, an agreement, a written agreement, a contract that you have signed with the publishing company. And ideally, it is a contract that your lawyer has approved. And so everything's on the up and up. So, contract, you give the money after the book starts selling. Tip number 2 is be very mindful of who is contacting whom. For the most part, unless you are at the top of the New York Times bestseller list or Oprah's like, "Hey, can I promote your book?" For the most part, you are going to be going to publishers. They are not going to be coming to you. If you do get solicited by a publisher, be very mindful of what they're saying. Are they being really vague? For instance, saying things like, "We like your book," or "We heard good things about you." Well, that's something that sounds like something written by a robot sent to millions of authors because it probably was written by a robot and sent to millions of authors. That's just the way things work these days. Uh, yeah, it's not necessarily a fraudulent thing, but it's something that you wanna pay attention to because there are publishing companies, and again, legitimate ones. I'm not even talking about fraud this time, but there are people who will make their money because they have signed everybody they can sign. And even if they are doing things like they are paying for a cover or they're paying for editing, but it's just kind of a crappy job, because their whole thing is that they wanna get royalties from all these different authors because if you sign enough people, you will make some money as a publisher, but it's not necessarily the best deal for you. You want to make sure that the publisher you're signing with really is going to put a lot of money into the cover. They're going to be able to work with you to make it worth your while. Because if not, then you are just needlessly giving money to people. For instance, if you do get something from somebody and they say, like, "Hey, we really like your writing, particularly that second set of books that you did, that series about the space pirates. That was fantastic because the world needs more space pirate books." Or they might say something like, "Oh, we know you're a veteran and we're looking for somebody to write Navy SEAL books." Well, at least in those 2 instances, they did at least spend a little bit of time into finding out who you are and what you write. So maybe you pay those people a little bit more attention than, again, just the general form letter that gets sent out to, millions of people. Number 3 is, and this is of everything on this list, this is a thing that could be the most legit, but it's still something you have to be careful about. And that's if someone approaches you to publish your book in a foreign language. Now, there's nothing wrong with foreign language publishing because, I mean, there's a huge market in this world. And I am in the United States. So, yes, I can be a little bit US centric, but I have nothing against all these other countries. That's great. But I was approached twice, and I have no reason to think that these were not legit offers, but I turned them down because I didn't want to be in violation of Amazon's policy. And I will get to Amazon in point number 4. But also, if you don't speak the language of whatever language they want to translate your book into, you're at a slight disadvantage unless you really like hire your own translator. You have a lawyer who will look at it, the contract and have their translator, because you can't take someone's word for it that the contract, if their contract is in a foreign language and they translate it to English, you want to make sure that the copy that you're signing is really what the contract says. It's not just like something they say is the contract and then they change the rules somewhere down the line, because that is actually how people, end up selling their soul to Amazon. It's just not a good idea. Like, you're just at a disadvantage if you don't speak the language. And also, you want to make sure that once you give your materials to somebody, they could end up selling it anywhere, or they could change it, or I don't know what they're going to do with it, or they could just put somebody else's name on it. So just be very careful. I'm not saying that these are not legit offers. There are definite markets in there I would love to break into, but you just have to be very careful with that because there can be downsides. All right. Brings me to number 4, which is don't piss off Amazon. It should be on every list. Don't piss off Amazon. Amazon has very specific terms of service requirements, and if you violate them, they will boot you off Amazon. And if you are not on Amazon, you might as well not be selling books, because it's not going to happen. They are the major bookseller. I mean, that's it. And if you are exclusive to Amazon, if you are in KDP Select, it means that you have given Amazon exclusive rights to your digital, not your print. You can do whatever you want with your print books, but for your digital books, if you are in KDP Select, it means you are allowing Amazon exclusive access to your books for 3 months. At the end of 3 months, you can go anywhere you want, but in those 3 months, only Amazon can have your book. So if you give your book to somebody, even if you're saying don't sell it digitally, they could be selling it digitally, and Amazon could find out, / they will find out, and they'll kick you off. And there is no coming back from that. Don't think you can ever pull a fast one on Amazon, because they'll find out somehow. And personally, I think it has to do with, Alexa spying on us. Like, just don't do it. It is not worth it. Abide by the rules. The contract that you signed with Amazon, honor it, because if you don't, it will be a disaster. Just don't do it. Just Amazon. It's Amazon. Tip number 5 for how to avoid being scammed in publishing. If something sounds too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. Once again, this is one of those tips which applies across the board, not just to publishing. This is a tough one because we are storytellers. And if you're anything like me, I don't want to just write books. I want those books to sell. I want them to sell a lot of copies. I want a lot of people to read my books. I want my books to be made into shitty Hollywood movies. I just do. And it's difficult to do that because it's hard to be discovered. And I have queried all of these agents in New York and been rejected. I also write screenplays, and so I've been rejected all over Hollywood. And I am an actor, so I have been rejected twice all over Hollywood. I know a lot about rejection. I should write a book about it, which probably wouldn't sell. When you are rejected and you get something from somebody saying, hey, I want to publish your book, or I want to sell it, I want to make it into a movie or whatever, it's balm to the soul. You're like, finally, somebody gets me. They understand me. But that is when your instincts, your red flags have to kick in and say, hey, is this legitimate? Are they, can they do what they say they're going to do? I'm going to do a video on small presses, on small publishing houses, because there are pros and cons to them, but even the legitimate ones can't necessarily do everything that they say they can do. So you just have to do your due diligence, and you have to listen to your gut on all of this. I have a friend who's an author, who's a really great author, and he got an email from somebody saying that they wanted to make one of his books, and they were specific about which book it was. They wanted to make his book into a movie. They wanted to sell it. They said they were an agent who specializes in that. And he asked me to take a look at it because I've been in Hollywood since 2000. And I hadn't heard of the company or this person, which doesn't mean that they weren't legitimate. Like, it could just be somebody who's starting out and they really wanted to run with this book and they were going to dedicate themselves to it. But I really didn't feel, well, I definitely didn't think this was going to be like a slam dunk. And I had given some questions for my friend to ask this person. And when he asked those questions, the answers were kind of evasive. And so my friend's like, I'm not going to, put any more time into this. So those things are heartbreaking. Uh, but if your dream is to get published by a big New York publisher or have your book made into a movie, go out there, like, query agents, query publishing houses, query studios and production companies and agents in Los Angeles. Go out there, chase your dream. I mean, the answer might be no, but you're not going to know until you do it. And also, if you are in control of this and you're the person who's contacting them and you know that the people that you're contacting are legit, you're not probably I want to say, I want to couch it in just in case, because you just never know when you're going to get scammed. But the chances of being scammed in those circumstances where you're going out and you're the one doing the asking, much smaller than somebody coming to you and say, hey, this, generic book that you have generic written sounds generic great. Like, that's, so whatever you're going to do, good luck with it. Plant some red flags. Just make sure everything is as it should be, and have lawyers look at things. And good luck. And if there's anything in there that I could act in, let me know. Thanks for watching.